Friends, I, Captain Vivek Jain, welcome you all to my third episode. The subject of discussion today is stock market as an investment avenue. Amongst different avenues of investments available to us, we have so far discussed earlier bank fixed deposits, national saving certificates, Kisan Vikas Patra, public provident fund, post office deposits, and we have understood the great advantage of compounding effect. Today, we will discuss the remaining avenues of investments available to us as I had promised. But first, something more about the compounding effect. Friends, compounding indeed is a very interesting phenomenon. The great scholar and scientist Albert Einstein had once remarked that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. And indeed it is. I'll give you an example over here. Rupee 1 lakh invested every year on a recurring system for 32 long years at 10% compound interest per annum. After 32 years, it becomes more than 2 crore of rupees. You can well imagine that from age 25 to age 57 for any person with a total investment of 32 lakh rupees, one can get a maturity sum of rupees 2 crores. Now to get that 10% compound interest per annum is what we shall discuss later. Let us complete meanwhile with all our other avenues of investments available. Bullion. This is a very popular form of investment in our families. Gold and silver. Since independence till this year 2020, this has appreciated nearly 500 times. That comes to around 9% per annum compounded. But then we have to realize that income in this asset is taxable. Plus, there are various other issues which we have to consider, such as legal regulations of acquiring and selling them, in which form you will acquire and sell them, storage with the risk of pilferage all along, poor liquidity as it is not so easily marketable. Then comes the purity of the metal, where various vendors, various jewelers, they will probably earmark and put their own form of purity. Further, during the entire period, one can retain gold or silver. It will not yield any regular income. It will only give capital appreciation profit when actually sold. Although today gold is available in demat ETF form, but not silver as yet. This eliminates some of the various issues we have just mentioned. But then there is no regular dividend as such, and capital appreciation is also irregular, not uniform. Next comes real estate. Real estate requires a good amount of investable funds at one go. It may not be practical and possible for most of the middle class families. And if it is purchased by way of a loan, the repayment of EMIs will consume the monthly earnings substantially. Moreover, a good profit in real estate investment may take sometimes a very long time. Often it takes a very long time and maybe a gap of a generation or so. Then we have to also understand there are various very complex government regulations, income tax rules. Then we have to care and maintain, and also we have to see the security of the property against any kind of an encroachment, and all that will come at some cost. Finally, I would say that real estate may be profitable only upon selling, and during the period retained, it will not yield any income. In order to obtain regular income during retention of real estate, if it is rented out or leased to tenants, then there is always risk of non-retrieval, which is rather high, and the litigation process is quite cumbersome and long. And the taxable rental income in any case is quite low, 3 to 4% of the market value. So I cannot really term it as an investable source, so very flexible or liquid. We come next to the agricultural income. This is definitely a good avenue with attractive incentive from the government. Income tax is nil, but then the infrastructure requirement is quite a lot. One has to acquire farming land, equipment, material, knowledge and experience which can be inherited or even one can purchase it. It also requires a sustained dedicated efforts with good planning, maintenance, marketing prowess, and a completely different form of lifestyle. It actually hardly qualifies as an investment avenue and is actually a mode of profession. But I have mentioned it as also a possible branch of investment. Last but not least, friends, I will now mention investment in Indian stock market. This in itself is a subject of vast discussion and explanation. It's a huge subject. It has to be understood very carefully and very precisely. It has its own pros and cons inherent within the system. But having said all that, I can very well say with utmost confidence that it is one of the best avenues of investment. We shall understand that in our subsequent discussions. Advantages are it is practically and legally viable. The procedures are quite simplified today and made safe for general common man. For any person with investable funds, it gives a good possibility of handsome long-term capital appreciation with intermittent encashments also for various other planned expenses, and at the same time it generates a regular income by way of dividends, and these dividends can very well be utilized for various day-to-day or monthly expenses. Friends, this avenue of stock market shall be taken up in our next episodes in a detailed manner, I assure you. Meanwhile, I would like to request you to please subscribe to my channel, and if you have not only enjoyed but have learned something worthwhile so far, please mark your liking to this episode and do not forget to write in your valued comments in the space provided. I shall try and reply to all of them. See you again. Have a nice day.